Hey, this is Moshe coming to you from Israel in the Galilee. So you're going to hear this recourse to this report today on what happened in Iran coming from somebody that lives in Israel as a citizen for many years, as a Jewish citizen, okay? So you're not going to hear it from somebody that lives 4,000 or 5,000 miles away from Israel and doesn't know what the heck's going on, just makes believe they do. If you don't live here, you're probably never going to really understand the intricacies of what's going on. I'm serious. Okay, so today's the 20th of May, it's 10:10 in the morning. I'm going to go to the chat, make sure we got sound and picture. I want to tell you that we're having internet difficulties today. I've already been on the phone with them, they're trying to fix it. Now they're scheduling an appointment for a service call. I don't know what the problem is, they're probably going to change all the equipment again. It's getting frustrating. Please don't post in the chat for a couple of minutes till I get my posts up. Thank you. I'm almost done. Okay, being a Bible-believing site, Old Testament and New Testament, I'm going to do some praise. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 All right, so let me get your attention why I'm putting the time and energy into this. Iran says Israel is complicit with the crash that killed, I think, 4 officials from Iran, the president, the foreign minister, and 2 other guys. One of them was a mullah from a mosque near Azerbaijan, and I forgot who the other one was, but 2 very, very important people that were responsible for the missile attack on Israel some weeks ago got killed in a helicopter crash. And Iran said Israel's complicit and they're going to counterattack against Israel and her allies, which includes America hands down. And then I'm hearing within 24 hours. Okay? That's why this is serious. Got it? All right. Now, let's thread the needle and look at all the stuff and what's going on. Azerbaijan is a country next to Armenia. Armenia and Azerbaijan are adversaries. They have skirmishes at the border, and then everybody gets them to calm down, and then it flares up again, and then it calms down. They don't get along at all. Armenia is an ally of Iran. Azerbaijan is an ally of Israel, Yisrael, in the Hebrew. And what happened? In the past is we drone attacked Iran military bases and other targets from Azerbaijan. It's rumored that we have an intelligence installation there, and I believe we do, and I believe we monitor Iran from Azerbaijan, and I believe we have a certain amount of troops there, which would be predominantly not infantry or artillery or any of that. It would be military intelligence, analysts, possibly technicians to help Azerbaijan with offensive and defensive weapons that I'm sure Israel has given or sold to them, and probably intelligence agents from Shin Bet and Mossad. Shin Bet, not that likely, but maybe there's a couple there for liaison or something like that, okay? So Azerbaijan and Israel get along very well. Okay? The Iranian Dumkovs went from Tehran, the capital of Iran, to this place in Azerbaijan to have a meeting with one of the head dogs of Azerbaijan, one of the top cats, okay? What they were going to discuss, I don't know, probably attempting to pry them away from Israel. But they wouldn't do that because Iran launched 330 missiles and drones and rockets at Israel in the last, 3 weeks, and Israel defeated them. So Azerbaijan favors the Israeli defensive systems. Okay? Not what Iran has. Got it? Now, Azerbaijan, being a Muslim country, they're going to definitely sit and talk to Iran, but they're going to shine them on, that's all. Okay? So how could Israel have known what the takeoff time and location is going to be from Azerbaijan? Well, they have people in Azerbaijan, and Azerbaijan likely spilled the beans and told them. They probably, from their military or intelligence center in Iran, tracked the path of the helicopter. It came from Tehran, and it was a distance of approximately 350 miles. Why would they use a Bell helicopter, which is what a vice president or Westinghouse or General Electric would use to travel in short distances, But it was no military helicopter, it was no attack helicopter. It probably had no defense mechanisms whatsoever, nor offensive systems. So the distance was about 350 miles, and the flight time, it could have been a little more because they had to get in, and maybe it was 400 miles. So the flight time was probably 2 to 2.5 hours. It's a higher grade military helicopter. It probably runs at about 150 miles an hour. Okay, so what would the Iranians be thinking? Well, if they're going to take off on a plane from Tehran, then they have to set up a security detail and move these heavyweight politicians to the airport, load them on the plane, then take off with the plane, probably with jet fighter escorts, at least till they left Iranian airspace. Then they would have to find a suitable airport to land in Azerbaijan, which could be 40, 50 miles away from the meeting location point with Azerbaijan, or not. But then comes a heavy security hassle. Now they're in a foreign country, they got their president, and he's a very high-ranking guy in Iran. He's up there. They got the mullah, the Ayatollah, who's also very high-ranking, but the president is, is the head of state. So they would land at an airport, and then they've got to be secure they don't get shut down landing, and then they got to get the dignitaries off the plane into an armored convoy. And if you've ever worked in any of these things, when I was a young guy, I worked in law enforcement, there's always delays. The plane's going to land, the door will be open, it'll be 10-20 minutes before they are told to disembark. Then they're going to get in limos, join a motorcade of armored limousines, and travel to the site location. Then there's going to be a delay, and they'll disembark, and the time for them to fly over there and mess around with motorcades and all this stuff would easily be more than the 2.5 hour flight with the helicopter, where they just go. They don't have to go to the airport. The helicopter lands at some government building. They walk maybe 40 yards. They get in the helicopter. It happens very suddenly, unexpectedly. Nobody's really planning it. Boom, they take off. There was 3 helicopters. So they had other government officials in the 2 other helicopters. So this was a very important meeting with Azerbaijan. Okay, so I could see why they used the helicopters, okay? Because then they could land right in front of the building they were going to have the meeting in, and they walk, 20, 30 yards, 40 yards, and they're inside in a safe, secure building. So it would be hazardous to go to a country that potentially could be hostile towards them, where Israelis are known to inhabit, especially military and intelligence people, and start messing around with lengthy motorcades, okay? It's one thing to run a motorcade in your own country where you can call on a few hundred local police to get out there and control the traffic and all this other stuff. When you're dealing in a foreign country, it's not so easy. They don't have background information on the various police that are going to have access to shoot the motorcade or attack it with explosives or something. It's dangerous. So, that would explain the helicopter, okay? So the helicopter went down, yet the other 2 helicopters were flying in a flight pattern with the downed helicopter, and they didn't get knocked out of the sky. So that means whoever took them down knew which helicopter had the gold in it, the high value targets. Okay? Good intel. Israel probably has the best intelligence service in the world. I would not put down American intelligence at all. They're pretty adequate. But I think Israel, push comes shove, they're different. America has great big budgets, great resources, massive amount of personnel, which Israel doesn't have. So the CIA could get things done in many locations around the world all at the same time, which Israel could not do. That doesn't make them better, that makes them more larger, able to multitask more tasks than Israel can. Israel is probably not interested in getting intel on countries all over the world. They're focusing on countries near them. Okay? I'm reasonably sure Israel's not very concerned about what happens in Peru or, Colombia or other countries like that. Maybe, slightly concerned, but not very concerned. Okay? So, Whoever did this had excellent intelligence, okay? And they didn't shoot him on the way in, they shot him on the way out, and they made sure they got him knocked down in Iranian airspace, which made things more soft or easy on Azerbaijan, okay? The weather was bad. The fact that the other two helicopters did not suffer would mean the weather wasn't that bad. And it's very unlikely the weather did it. The other helicopters were identical Bell helicopters, is my understanding. That might not be correct, but I think they were all identical. And they were older helicopters, but they looked good. I have pictures of the helicopter on the one helicopter on the website. Now, protocol for any helicopter flight like this would be, in the event of a mechanical problem, to call it in. Okay? Here are our coordinates. I got this red light on, I got this beeper on, I got this, I got that, right? The other thing that could likely happen is if they had a mechanical problem and they were going to go down an emergency landing or maybe emergency/crash landing, they would have radioed the other two helicopters as well and minimally had them circle the crash site to radio the coordinates for a rescue. What also would be likely is if they were able to land the helicopter, they would have had at least one of the other helicopters land and take the two top dogs, the foreign minister and the president, and take people off the other helicopter if they had to, and put them on the helicopter and get them back home safely. You got this? This would be normal protocol. None of this happened. Okay? They didn't get on the radio, they didn't say we're hit, we're going down, mayday, none of that. Because whatever hit them took them out fast. Now, helicopters are not highly durable aircraft if they get hit by missiles. Now, Iran comes up with this cockamamie story that the pilot was a Mossad agent. What? Let's talk about that. So he's a Mossad agent, and he went down with the plane, and he's dead too, and he killed himself and all that. I'm sorry, that doesn't sound like Israel. No. Doesn't sound like Israel at all. They're too smart. They could do better than that. Well, he could have had how would that play out if it did happen? Well, he probably had a overnight bag with him, let's say, a small attaché case thing or soft case. He has his computer. So, I mean, this could be like when the helicopter's landing and they have a meeting for 6 hours, he can keep himself busy or something. I'm just talking, right? And he probably had a change of clothes, toothbrush, shaver, that kind of thing. Okay? That would be rather normal. And he could have had himself a nice 20, 30-pound explosive in there, which would destroy a helicopter, no doubt. Helicopters are fragile, okay? But Israel's not in the habit of using suicide bombers. That's saying he's a suicide bomber. That's not what Mossad does. Okay? The risk here is shooting the plane with the helicopter with a missile can cause telltale signs from the missile to be found in the wreckage. The way you solve that is you use some other country's missile. Where you build the missile that's sterile, it has no identifiers. Or you use a missile that is specially designed to destroy itself, but good. But to get it where you're not going to have pieces bigger than a marble, you know, you probably need a 250 to a 500-pound bomb in there, or your warhead in there. They also could have shot the plane down by helicopter. How would that work? Well, an attack helicopter would probably get within 2 or 3 miles of the Bell helicopter. They wouldn't detect it. He would get the right helicopter, so the intel had to be flawless. He might have needed visual contact to get the call letters to the helicopter to do that. Because the radar and other things, they'd be indistinguishable. They're all the same model Bell helicopter. So he probably would have had to get pretty close, a few hundred yards with binoculars or something like that. And then he could have fired 2 rockets at it, which is normal to take down a helicopter. You'd fire 2 and it would blow the smithereens out of it. But these rockets are small warhead, like, 6 pounds or 8 or 10 pounds or something like that. I don't think they did that. The helicopter or the plane would have been seen by Iran radar, and I doubt it. I think they fired a surface-to-air missile at it from inside Azerbaijan, right near the border of Iran, and they waited for the helicopter to cross into Iranian airspace over the Iranian land, and then tagged it, knocked it out. Was this a retaliation for Iran's massive missile attack against us a couple of weeks ago? Yeah, but it runs a lot deeper than that. That's not all. First of all, let's talk about what a backstabber Biden is. When this October 7th thing started and he started mobilizing the Navy and troops in the Middle East, he warned the other countries not to open up a second front. And Lebanon has had a second front for 6 months. Biden hasn't done a darn thing about it. Right? Iran attacking Israel with a massive amount of missiles at one time and drones is obviously opening up a second front, and Biden did nothing about it. In addition, Biden held back weapons from Israel. And still is. 1,700 2,000-pound bombs to destroy tunnels, and 1,800 500-pound bombs. Netanyahu and Biden do not get along. Netanyahu and Obama did not get along. .75% of Biden's staff worked with Obama during his presidency. 75%. So you can make a joke and say we got Obama in the White House again. Is that true? I don't know, but it's objective data that 75% of the staff worked for Obama. That would be the Austin Secretary of Defense, Jake Sullivan, the security, head of the security, whatever they call it, and Blinken, that was head of the State Department. The city of Blinken went to Ukraine some days ago, not very long, maybe a week. And he gave a rock and roll concert, got up on a stage playing a guitar, singing songs about freedom. This is your Secretary of State. He's obviously a wannabe rock star. Boy, that should be scary. Netanyahu hates Iran. Oh, does he hate them? He's been trying for ages to get America to attack Iran. Biden is stabbing Netanyahu in the back. He's trying to get him thrown out of office and put Gantz in. It doesn't look like Gantz has enough political popularity in the polls to really make a run for this. So, but Biden's trying. Netanyahu is completely mad at Biden. And I've told you in the past, Netanyahu is not an overly bright person. The beginning of wisdom is fear of the Lord, which he has none of. But when it comes to evil, doing evil, deceit, lying, subterfuge, Netanyahu is exceptionally good at that, okay? Far better than Biden. And I told you he would get over on Biden, and he just didn't. So we could talk about, oh, this is revenge for the missile attack, yeah, right. The deeper analysis here is that Netanyahu is being pushed around against his will by Biden. So he's pushing Biden around against his will. This is something that Biden never thought would happen because of the technical complexities and the amount of guts it takes. So he painted Biden into a corner. What will Biden do? First thing is they'll contact Iran, being a coward and indecisive and vacillating, going from one to the other, from the left to the right to the left, the north to the south, the south. He doesn't know what he wants to do. They'll contact Iran and they'll say we had nothing to do with this. Iran's response will be click and hang up on him. Oh, they'll listen to him, but they won't buy it. Not going to buy it. Now, Iran is tomorrow not going to load up and sail across the Atlantic and attack America. But they can attack the American bases in Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Jordan, Oman, Saudi Arabia. That should cover it. Okay. And he could also have the Houthi proxies attack the oil fields in Saudi Arabia, which they've done twice before. They've disabled the Aramco oil refinery in Saudi Arabia, the biggest one they have in Saudi. on two separate occasions in the last 18 months or so. So it is not difficult for Yemen to do that again. Will Iran try launching, instead of 330 missiles, 600 or 800? Probably not. Netanyahu disabled the radar at several sites in Iran some weeks ago, including several nuclear sites where they're developing nuclear stuff, okay? Now, he didn't blow all the sites up. He hit 7 targets. They only talk about 2. But he hit 7. 5 nuclear facilities, I believe, and they have no radar, and it'll probably take around 6 months to 18 months to restore the radar. So it's easy for Israel to fly in and blow up these nuclear facilities. And that will happen within minutes of Iran doing a missile attack against us. It's not going to cost a lot of lives, but it's going to make Iran look more and more like the village idiots. Which Iran doesn't want. I don't think we're going to see a reproduction of that. I think we're going to see something that Iran's going to feel more secure. They're not going to get beaten up over. Hitting embassies and consulates and politicians is a good idea. Is this the time to launch the sleeper agents in America? I'm not seeing that yet. I don't think they're going to do that right now. It's too sudden. That has to be well planned, well orchestrated with China, North Korea, Russia, Cuba, Venezuela, Belarus. It's too immature to just fly off and do that. They could do it because they're nuts, but it would be a bad idea. How would they retaliate against Israel? Well, that's a good question. I don't know. America could hurt them and bomb their nuclear facilities, but they're of the firm belief that Biden's too scared to do anything or won't do anything. So you could just take pot shots at America with Biden and you get out of jail free. That might be what he did. Now, was America complicit with this? Did they use their reconnaissance and surveillance facilities to help Israel? No, I doubt it. This wasn't something Biden wanted to do. Biden is now going nuts at Netanyahu because he knows this could drag America into a war with Iran quickly. would that cost them a lot of votes at the poll if prophecy allowed for it to get that far in November? Oh gosh, yeah. The war with Iran would run a long time. And Biden would be out there beating the war drum, blaming everything on Biden. So Netanyahu did this as a backstab to get Biden in the war. Now, can Biden turn around and say, Israel did this, we didn't do it, they didn't check with us, drop dead Israel, we're walking away? Well, that'll hurt Biden in the polls too. There's likely to be no evidence, because if they come up with missile shards and stuff like that, Israel say, so somebody used one of our missiles. They're all over the world. What do you want from me? Iran knows Netanyahu did it, and the top brass in Israel knows they did it. But that doesn't mean there's going to be public revealings of this. Israel's going to keep their mouths shut, never take credit for it, never talk about it one way or the other. Okay? The way to get the best mileage out of this is just say nothing. Biden would have to make this thing fly, walking out on Israel. He would have to develop evidence, falsely or honestly, that Israel did it. He may do that. Biden is so indecisive and stupid, and his team, Blinken, Sullivan, Austin, they're just as dumb. They're not getting anything done right. They're failing ever since they got into office. They're not going to get anywhere with this. Will Iran invade Israel? Nah. It's very difficult for them to do that. They may start sending some soldiers to help in the siege that we read of in Bible prophecy in Zechariah 12, but I wouldn't think you'd be looking at more than, several thousand soldiers. 3,000, 5,000, something like that. Could Iran do another big missile attack on Israel? They sure could, but they got to be prepared to pay the price for the retaliation. So it's really hard to say what Iran is going to do next. If Israel did this, they've already put all their alert levels in place before it happened. Or maybe they were afraid of leakage from the military, so they waited till the crash was reported, and before Iran could figure out what happened, they put all the alerts in place. Could it be that Biden's in cahoots with Netanyahu to get rid of Iran? This didn't get rid of Iran. The only way you're going to get rid of Iran is a joint attack. And I see no real signs of, Biden wanting to do anything like that. So I'm not thinking that's a likely possibility. Will Iran attack Israel? Probably, but I don't know how. They may use their proxies. They may try to do it from Syria. They may try to move troops and armor from Iran to Iraq to Syria and then attack us by crossing into Israel. But chances are we would destroy such a convoy before it got here. What else could they do? They could try to get the Houthis deployed to go on a ground trek from Yemen to Israel to save Gaza and the Rafah crossing. That would be the pretext for the cover story. But it'd be pretty dangerous for the Houthis to try something like that. The Americans might bomb them. They're not fond of the Houthis because of the Red Sea closures. And they might bomb them. Israel could bomb them. It's not highly likely. There's a lot of people in Iran that are opposing the Iranian government, and they're openly celebrating the death of this Risi guy, the president and foreign minister. I put this on my Telegram last night. It was a cartoon the Iranian opposition made where they had a wrecked helicopter in the background of a mountainous region, and a girl was dancing around and a guy was singing, and it was in Farsi, so I didn't know all the words, but I kept hearing helicopter, helicopter, like they were praising the helicopter or something. So it's a mess right now, and Netanyahu is really showing Biden who's boss. And Biden doesn't like it. And it's going to make relationships worse. Hold on, I want to check the chat here. Well, someone mentioned it depends if Lebanon gets on. Well, Lebanon's a puppet state of or proxy of Iran, and if Iran's going to attack us, they'll just direct Lebanon to attack it. But to attack us too. I'll tell you right now, Nasrallah, the head of Hezbollah, the Ayatollah in Iran, Bashar Assad, the head of Syria, maybe, no, that's probably the extent of it. These people are probably sleeping in a different location every night now, if they haven't done before, and they're probably spending most of their days underground in bunkers. And they're probably afraid to do much air travel or ground travel. This Israeli policy of targeted assassinations has reached a new level with the president of Iran. Israel warned them. They took out their consulate in Syria, and then they counterattacked, and now they took out their president. So the message Netanyahu is sending out is, we can come get you. And he just did it. Let me check the news and see if we're getting any more new threats from our friends in Iran. I'm doing social media. The mainstream media is not going to get into the nitty-gritty of this, believe me. Israel is still advancing in Rafah, which was a red line for many of these nations, but nothing happened. They're going to be doing 3 days of mourning in Iran, so there may not be an attack for these 3 days. A lot of celebrations, not just in Iran, around the world over this guy getting killed. If Biden was in on it, it was to overthrow the Iranian government and put the Shah's son in power. You know, when the Shah ran Iran, the Iranian people prospered. Sharia law was a joke at that time, and the Iranian people were prospering. They were doing well. And they were very friendly with Israel. Israel and Iran were pretty good allies. Then in '79, they overthrew the Shah. That was it. And then came Sharia law. And then comes war, death, destruction, poverty. The Iranian currency dived 15 to 20% yesterday when the president's helicopter went down. It's probably going to continue to dive more. Let's take a look at gold. Let's see what gold did. Was this enough to nudge gold up? I don't see how it could not have been enough. Let's take a look. Nothing serious. A little. It's up a little. I'm seeing 24.39. And let's see what silver's doing. Probably moved very slightly up, very slightly. Silver went up a respectable amount. It's almost $32. It's 31.87. That's not bad. So we are getting movement from gold and silver. Let's see what the US dollar is doing and what the Iranian currency is doing. Yeah, the shekel's about the same as it was yesterday against the US dollar. Nothing going on there. All right. Let's see how the dollar's doing against Iran. This ought to be comical. It's called the Iranian rial. It's fairly hysterical. 1 US dollar buys 41,762 Iranian rials. 1 Iranian rial equals 0.000023 US dollars. I don't even know how you pronounce 4 zeros and then a number. I mean, it's a joke. So, Iranian currency is in Gaga land, you know. And the US dollar against the euro is worth $1.08, almost $1.09. That's about pretty much where it's been. The British pound. It's worth $1.27, more or less the way it's been for a while. Canadian dollar, usually about 66 cents. Oh, it's up 73 cents. And let's see, the Aussie dollar, again, is usually about 2/3. It's 66 point, yeah, it's 2/3. Let's take a look at the Swiss franc. Where's the designation? See something. Sounds what do I see? CHF. $1.09. It's a little bit, it's doing all right. So we don't see any spectacular things in the currencies market except the Iranian thing is diving again. These mullahs over there made a real mess of everything, you know. What they did is they put the vice president in the president's position. And they have 50 days, 50 days to hold another election to get rid of, to replace him. He doesn't get to stay in the presidency till the next scheduled election. He gets to stay there probably as what they call acting president until they can hold a new election. I don't think they're going to run straight up honest elections so that you're going to get another jerk in there. So I wouldn't expect you're going to see any good remedy for Iran based on this, unless you see ruler versus ruler and they decide to overthrow the government, which Biden would probably jump behind wholeheartedly. And I'm sure Israel would be working in this regards also. We're told there's armor coming into Gaza from America. Now, I didn't see any pictures of tanks, like armored Humvees, armored personnel carriers, this sort of thing. They probably intend to use this armor to escort the humanitarian aid, food, into different parts of Gaza from where the pier is in the south of Gaza. Several of our officers, I don't know how many, it could have been 50 or something, I don't know, signed a petition, and they told Netanyahu to either accelerate the war in Rafah or get the heck out of there, because it's causing the death of too many soldiers, Israeli soldiers. The Hamas is observing their maneuvers and, picking them off with snipers and sappers with bombs. And, this is Netanyahu dragging the war out for his own political interests, because it's common knowledge in Israel when the wars are over, they're going to do a vote of no confidence and he's going to get the boot. The reason he's not getting the boot during the wars is the Israelis are under the opinion, and I don't know where in the world they got this from, that changing the prime minister during a conflict is not smart, because the enemy would assume you're in a weak position and counterattack. So instead, they put up with a nincompoop like Netanyahu. As a complete lack of wisdom in that one, but that's how they operate. So he's dragging the wars out for his own political interests and to stay out of jail, because he's facing 3 criminal charges where the trials have already been in progress. And that would net him 16 years in jail if he got the maximum. But he'd probably be out in 2 or 3 years, but maybe not. And Biden's well aware of this. Now, this is not anything to do with the ICJ. This is corruption cases inside Israel, and they appear strong with witnesses and evidence and stuff like that. So his agenda is perverted. Yet the people of Israel still put up with him. So, a lot of people in Israel just had it with this guy. I refer to him as the curse of Israel. He's that bad. We pay more for food than any other Middle East country. There's no reason for that. They kill us with fuel. They put a $3 a gallon tax on gas. They have a 50% income tax on wage earners, 23% on corporations. %17% sales tax, the code of VAT, and import tax is 17%. They break us. Cars have 100 and 150% tax on it, depending on how expensive the car is. Food now is about triple the price it is in Gaza. You see, and Netanyahu and the predecessors do this on purpose to keep the aliyah down. They don't want the Jews moving here. And which God do you think they're following? Certainly not Jehovah. Let's see if we got any more news popping up on this. Might have something here. Let me read. There wasn't much. Hang on. Let's check around and see what we got. I was hoping Netanyahu would kidnap him and bring him back as a hostage, parade him through the streets of Jerusalem in chains, and tell Hamas if they release all the hostages, they could get him back. But that would be especially difficult to accomplish. Let's see here. Nothing yet. I'm looking. If you go to my Telegram, you'll see that video where the girl is dancing around by a crashed helicopter and singing helicopter, helicopter, or helicopter, helicopter. I put it up yesterday evening. Israel's saying that they're not involved in the crash. Well, that's typical. Is it possible that Israel really wasn't involved in the crash? No. You make your own decision. I think it was Israel. It was too good of a piece of work. Let's see. Our Shin Bet killed, I don't know, an undisclosed amount of members of the Hamas police forces in central Gaza, but nobody has a head count. I think the world is still reacting to this, okay? They haven't really had it sink in yet. Okay, they're reacting. Later in the day, it'll start to sink in, I believe. So I said to myself, could I find Iran in prophecy with any relevancy to this? And I may have. I'm not giving you 100% on this. It looks like I might have stumbled onto it, but I didn't stumble. I've been looking for it. We'll go to Daniel 11. Okay? And Daniel's still a sealed book, but I've been given to open some of it anyway. So let's see. We'll just start at Daniel 11:1, which I'll tell you right now is historical. It goes back a long time. Also, I, in the first year of Darius the Mede, even I stood to confirm and to strengthen him. And now will I show thee the truth. Behold, there shall stand up yet 3 kings in Persia, and the fourth shall be far richer than they all, and by his strength, through his riches, he shall stir up all against the realm of Grecia. Well, this is not for today, but let's cut into it so you'll understand why I say that. And the way we do that is, what is Grecia? Well, we would in English refer to it as the Greek Empire, not necessarily the island of Greece. It involved many countries because the Grecians would put cities around the world and stuff like that, and colonies, not just a city. So they included Turkey, Armenia, Ukraine, Russia, Albania, Italy, Egypt, France, Cyprus, and Spain. Well, we can't apply this to Iran. Why? Armenia is a friend of theirs. Turkey is a friend of theirs. Okay, Ukraine? No way. Russia? Yeah, they're kind of friendly. Albania? Unknown. Italy? A friend? No, they're not a friend of Iran. Egypt? They don't get along with Iran. France? They don't get along with Iran. Cyprus and Spain? They don't really get along with Iran. So it's a past thing. It happened a long time ago. But there's some stuff that may be relevant for today. We'll get there. Okay, so that was verse 2. So now we'll go to verse 3 in Daniel 11. And a mighty king shall stand up that shall rule with great dominion and do according to his will. And when he shall stand up, his kingdom shall be broken and shall be divided toward the four winds of heaven, and not to his posterity, nor according to his dominion, which he had ruled for. His kingdom shall be plucked up, even for others beside those. And the king of the south. Now, what is the king of the south? Well, generally it would be Yemen, or you could say Saudi Arabia. And they do have, Yemen doesn't really have a king, Saudi Arabia does. But let's read. And the king of the south shall be strong, one of his princes he shall be strong above him, and have dominion. His dominion shall be a great dominion. It doesn't sound like today Saudi Arabia or Yemen. A great kingdom? Nah. A great dominion? Nah. And in the end of years they shall join themselves together. For the king's daughter of the south shall come to the king of the north. Now, Yemen and Saudi Arabia are not the king of the north. The king of the north would Probably be like Turkey or something up there. Lebanon. To make an agreement, but she shall not retain the power of the arm, neither shall he stand nor his arm, but she shall be given up, and they that brought her, and he that begat her, and he that strengthened her in these times. But out of the branch of her roots shall one stand up in his estate, which shall come with an army, and shall enter into the distress. Shall enter into the fortress of the king of the north, and shall deal against them, and shall prevail. See, I don't know where to place this. I don't think we're at the present yet. And shall also carry captives into Egypt. Oh, I don't see that happening right now. Their guards with their princes, and with their it could be the captives could be those in Gaza going into Egypt in the form of the Sinai Peninsula from Rafah. Maybe. Let's watch carefully. I'm iffy on this, okay? Shall also carry captives into Egypt their guards with their princes, and with their precious vessels of silver and of gold, and he shall continue more years than the king of the north. All right. So the king of the south shall come into his kingdom, and shall return unto his own land. But his sons shall be stirred up, and shall assemble a multitude of great forces, and one shall certainly come and overflow and pass through. Then shall he return and be stirred up even to his fortress. Very difficult to figure out what that is. And the king of the south shall be moved with choler, and shall come forth and fight with him, even with the king of the north. That could be Yemen, and he could be referring to Iran as of the north, but it's not really the north, it's northeast. You know, I don't know. Maybe it would be north if we had the land that our fathers had, particularly Syria, might be considered north. Lebanon would be more precisely north. So the king of the south shall be moved with choler, and shall come forth and fight with him, even with the king of the north. Now, this could be Yemen coming up to help Lebanon. That would be a fit, right? Got it? Okay. But I can't say that's for sure what it is, but let's keep reading. And he shall set forth a great multitude, but the multitude shall be given into his hand. So where's Israel in here? I don't see it. And when he hath taken away the multitude, his heart shall be lifted up, and he shall cast down many 10,000s, but he shall not be strengthened by it. For the king of the north shall return, and shall set forth a multitude of Huh. For the king of the north shall return, and shall set forth a multitude greater than the former, and shall certainly come after the certain years, and a great army, and with much riches. And in those times there shall many, see, they come with great riches to pay the army and stuff like that. And then Israel conquers them and spoils them and gets their wealth and riches that they came with. So, yeah, it's interesting, but that could have happened much later in time also. There shall many stand against the king of the south. Also, the robbers of thy people shall exalt themselves to establish the vision, but shall fall. The robbers of the people are the government of Israel. That's what they're talking about. And they're trying to establish the vision now. They take the rabbis, feed them, they tickle their ears. They feed them garbage. They take all the blessings that come on Israel when Israel's following the Lord, and they apply it to them today with their despicable practices and their replacing of the Bible with the Talmud, which is an extra biblical book that contradicts the Bible heavily. And they think that overrides the Bible. And God is not going to give them the blessings of the law and give them victory and stuff like that and encourage these practices, because then the people will say, oh, we're doing the works of the Talmud, we reject Yeshua, we call him a bastard, we say he's not a prophet, he's not the Son of God, he never rose from the dead, it was bad, and he was a witch, and and then God blesses us for doing this. Well, that's never going to happen. So they're playing this game that the blessings of the law are going to come on to Israel. So the right-wingers are saying, oh, let's go after Iran, let's go this, God's with us. He's not. They're going to be destroyed. The government, it's the shepherds and the rabbis. They're going to get it. It's all through. It's in Malachi 3 and 4, Ezekiel 34. It's all over the place. The people shall exalt themselves to establish the vision, but they shall fall. And that's what you see in Jeremiah 30, Jacob's trouble. They're so scared they clutch their guts and their faces turn pale, which is Jacob's trouble is Zechariah 12, where they lay siege to Israel, and then the two witnesses burn them up on the right hand and the left. And the ones that are left when the siege happens is the poor and the humble and the meek. The rich fat cats are gone. The government's gone, the rabbis are gone, and stuff like that. They're cut off. Ezekiel 34. Okay? So, the siege is already taking place. We're being sieged from the south in Gaza, the north in Lebanon, the east in Iraq, who's now shooting rockets at us intermittently, and Syria. This is probably my internet phone call. I got to take this. Hello? Yes. 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 It's okay. Very good. Okay. Could you make a note, please, that the repeaters, the super internet, the little boxes that pick the signal and push it around, yeah, they're not working. Yeah. Okay, okay, great, great. Yeah, yeah. Okay. No, no, you've been very nice, and I thank you. Have a good day. Okay. Bye bye. Bye bye. That was my appointment to have the internet fixed. So, all right. It should get done before the broadcast tomorrow, so that's good. So now I'm in Daniel 11:15. So the king of the north shall come and cast up a mount and take the most fenced cities, and the arms of the south shall not withstand, neither his chosen people. Now, I don't really know what this is talking about. The king of the north, let's go with Lebanon, who's fighting with us, shall come and cast up a mount. That's very consistent with a siege. A mount would be like a siege work. It's Strong's number 5550. It's in the Hebrew Solar. It's a mound. So they just pile dirt up and get it high enough to go over a fenced fort or a city, like build a ramp, if you will, or something like that. But how does that have any relevance with Israel? We don't have that kind of a wall around it. So the very, I don't know how to place this. A mount wouldn't do any good at the Lebanese border. Take the most fenced cities, that would mean invasion. And then it says the arms of the south will not withstand, neither his chosen people. Well, we're north, it could mean the south of Israel. It's very difficult. But we'll keep going though. I mean, it's good effort, right? Keeps us sharp, polishes the edge of the sword. But he that cometh against him shall do according to his own will, and none shall stand before him, and he shall stand in the glorious land which by his hand shall be consumed. I think now we're into Gog and Magog, or we're in the past. I don't think we're in the present day. He shall also set his face to enter with the strength of his whole kingdom, and upright ones with him. Thus shall he do, and he shall give him the daughter of women, corrupting her, but she shall not stand on his side, neither be for him. And this thing with the giving of the women for weddings to make treaties with other countries, this is really in the past. After this shall he turn his face unto the isles, and shall take many. Now the isles could be North, South, and Central America, so it could also be something else, like Cyprus, I don't know, Malta, and other places. After this shall he turn his face unto the isles, and shall take many. But a prince for his own behalf shall cause the reproach entered by him to cease. Without his own reproach he shall cause it to turn upon him. Then he shall turn his face towards the fort of his own land, but he shall stumble and fall and not be found. Then shall stand up in his estate a raiser of taxes in the glory of the kingdom, and within a few days he shall be destroyed, neither in anger nor in battle. I have no idea what that is. And in his estate shall stand up a vile person, to whom they shall not give the honor of the kingdom, but he shall come in peaceably and obtain the kingdom by flattery. This pushes us more into Gog and Magog, I'd say, not today. And with the arms of a flood, that's like an army or many people, shall they be overflow from before him, and shall be broken, yea, also the prince of the covenant. Well, that's found in Daniel 9:26. That's the descendant of David. That's the anointed prince in the next temple. You could read that in Ezekiel 45. And after the league made with him, he shall work deceitfully, for he shall come up and shall become strong with a small people. And it goes on, and I think, he shall enter peaceably. I think this just takes us into Gog and Magog. So I really can't get too much specificity in this accurately. I really can't. I don't see much else with Iran. I do see Iran as one of the nations in Jeremiah 30, verse 11. It says God will destroy all the nations that he scattered the Israelites into, and I definitely see Iran as one of those nations, for sure. I don't have any doubt about it. There's plenty of Jews that left Iran in the late 70s to get away from the Sharia law guys. So, it's difficult to find anything specific about Iran in these days. I couldn't yet. I'll keep looking. Well, Lebanon's in on it already. They're already attacking us with pretty good daily attacks. And we heard yesterday, that Netanyahu was going to have a plan for Lebanon in 48 hours. So that would be Monday by Wednesday, I guess, if not tomorrow. I think it could be tomorrow. And they've already given ultimatums not to the Hezbollah, but to Hezbollah and Lebanon. They cannot hold up against us. Now, the killing of Rassi, the president of Iran and the foreign minister, could be to cause confusion in Iran, making them not wanting to go to war against Israel when we attack Lebanon. That could be another explanation for this. If that is an explanation, it's a possible explanation, and that could also lead to Biden being involved in this. What Biden wants is the Middle East to simmer down. He would, number one, like to see Israel be destroyed, in my opinion. But he can't do that without killing himself in the election. So his best bet right now is to let everything simmer down. Then he gets elected to a second term. There is no third term, so he doesn't care what the people think. And then he could go after Netanyahu with vigor. That's the way I look at it. All right, to switch to another subject, Elijah. I'm not entirely sure when I read Malachi 3. It says, "Behold, I will send my messenger." That's Moloch, that's Elijah. That's a play on words for Malachi. Malachi is Moloch. You want to come up? Yeah, fine. All right. You can say hello to everybody. No? All right. "Behold, I will send my Moloch, and he shall prepare the way before me." That's Elijah. That's John the Baptist, with the spirit of Elijah was operating that way. But he failed. But this Elijah, the Elijah here, is Elijah, and he will not fail. But he's, anyway. And the Lord, whom you seek, that's the glory of God of Israel, shall suddenly come to his temple. Even the Moloch of the covenant, now he's switching back. So he's saying the glory of God of Israel will suddenly come to his temple. So is it possible that at the day, which is when the moon goes dark the sun goes dark, the moon turns to blood. That's the culmination of the appearing of the Son of Man in the sky. Happens probably before that, or maybe after that. Probably after that. And then the temple comes down because this temple is not created. And that's a long story. I've done that Bible study many times. You should read Ezekiel 37, the last 3 verses. It'll enlighten you. And about that specifically. It says that the nations will know that God sanctified Israel when that temple is there. Well, if a bunch of rabbis built the temple, the heathen would not know that God sanctified Israel because of that. If it came down from heaven, yes. And it also, in Ezekiel 43, we're told that we're just given the law and the means of operating in the temple, going in and going out. We're never given instructions to build it. Moving along, it also says in Ezekiel 37 that God puts or places the next temple in our midst. So, moving forward, shall suddenly come to his temple. That's interesting. Even the Malach of the covenant, that's Elijah, whom you delight in, behold, he shall come. But who may abide the day of his coming? Well, if the day of his coming is Zechariah 12:10 or 12:6, when the enemies are getting burned up, that makes sense. Now that's the unveiling of Elijah to the Israelites. He's here, and so is Apostle John, the 2 witnesses, but they're not unveiled at this time. The day of his coming, and who shall stand when he appeareth? Appeareth is his unveiling, you might say in our English. For he is like a refiner's fire, and like a fuller's soap. And he shall sit as a refiner and purifier of silver, and he shall purify the sons of Levi, and purge them as gold and silver, that they may offer unto Jehovah an offering in righteousness. So, of course, that's a testimony of the next temple. Then shall the offering of Judah and Jerusalem, so the 10 tribes are not yet back, and we don't really, well, you could think of it that we do have the land that our fathers had back, be pleasant unto Jehovah as in the days of old, as in the former years, and I will come near to you to judgment. I will be a swift witness against the sorcerers, the witches, against the adulterers, that speaks for itself, against the false swearers, those that oppress the hireling in his wages, the widow, the father, and that turn aside the strangers from his right, and fear not me, saith Jehovah of armies. For I am Jehovah, I change not. Therefore, you sons of Jacob, now that's an indication of Jacob's trouble, are not consumed. Even from the days of your fathers you are gone away from my ordinances, and have not kept them. Return unto me, and I will return unto you, saith Jehovah of armies. Hosts is not right, the best word, armies is better. But you said, wherein shall we return? See, in the old days, a host would mean an army, but today it doesn't mean that. Hi, I'm your host, Johnny Carson or something, it's changed. Will a man rob God? Yet you rob me, but you say, wherein have we robbed thee in tithes and offerings? And it goes into that. And then we drop into Malachi 3:15, and now we call the proud happy, yea, and they that work wickedness are set up. That's today, right now. Yea, they that tempt God are even delivered. Then they get delivered, but not for eternity. They get delivered from the government and that type Then, not by God. Then they that feared Jehovah spake often one to another, and Jehovah hearkened and heard it, and a book of remembrance was written before him for them that feared Jehovah and that thought upon his name. Well, that's the book of life. And they shall be mine, saith Jehovah of armies, in that day. Remember, it's a day, in that day, when I make up my jewels. That's Zechariah 12:10. That day, make up my jewels. And I will spare them as a man spareth his own son that serveth him. Then shall you return and discern between the righteous and the wicked. Return would mean return to the Lord, probably. It could mean return to Israel, second Exodus, but I think in this case, let's check the words, 77:25, should turn back, return. It's probably second Exodus. And discern between the next great Exodus, between the righteous and the wicked, between him that serveth God and him that serveth him not. Now, in Malachi 4, we get into the Zechariah 12:10, where they shall look upon the one whom they have pierced. For behold, the day cometh, the day, that's the Zechariah 12 talk, the day, that day. The day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud and all that do wicked shall be stubble, and the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith Jehovah of armies, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch. Well, this could definitely be Zechariah 12:6, with the two witnesses burn them up on the right hand and the left, all about. That's because they laid siege to Israel. But unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his extremities, which is the edge of the garment where the tzitzit were placed, and you shall go forth and grow up as calves of the stall. It really says you shall go forth and frolic about as calves of the stall, and this is the eternal life from Zechariah 12:10, when first God pours his Spirit out on them, and then they see the one whom they pierce, which is the sign of the Son of Man in the clouds. And they're believers because just before that, God put his Spirit out on them, and then the scripture to validate this is John 6:40, which says, those that believe and look upon him shall have eternal life. Now, eternal life doesn't mean you're not going to die. It means your life is going to be very, very, very long, which is more consistent with the Hebrew meaning of the word. And you'll be like young again, and you shall tread down the wicked, for they shall be ashes under the soles of your feet in the day that I shall do this, saith the Lord. Remember you the law of Moses, my servant, which I commanded unto him in Horeb, for all Israel with the statute and the judgments. Behold, I send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. Now, let me read you that again. Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before. Now, that's not some prophet with the spirit of Elijah. This is Elijah the prophet. The word for prophet is Nevi. Okay, and that's the word used. Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. There's things I'd like to tell you, but I'm not going to tell you about this. Okay, everything in its own time. So where do we see this almost verbatim? Not exactly verbatim, but very similar passage. Joel 2, verse 31. The sun shall be turned into darkness, and the moon into blood before the great and terrible day of the Lord comes. So that's the day that I am thinking strongly, it sure looks good. Probably true. I would say this is true. That's the day when it's going to be the unveiling for Apostle John and Elijah. And the sun will go dark and the moon will turn to blood, and Yeshua, seated on the right hand of power, shall appear in the clouds like lightning from the east to the west. And those that are believers to see him shall have everlasting life. And quite a day that'll be. Then they burn the enemies up. So the people that are left are scared. In Jeremiah 30 verse 11, they're clutching their guts. They're very scared because of the siege surrounding this Israel, probably millions. And we're in siege now, but it'll be more complete, and they'll be attacking us from outside the borders, and they're scared as all get up. And then the government's been destroyed, everything is messed up. And then the two witnesses appear and burn up the enemies. And they receive this eternal life, all within minutes. The Spirit's poured out on them and everything. See, Israel's doing well in the wars, so to speak, but they're not getting any land back, and they never will, because it's not going to come from their armies and their missiles and their rockets and American weapons and all of this nonsense. It's going to come only from Jehovah, so they know it's Jehovah. Okay? Only from Jehovah. And that starts the first 70 in Daniel 9:24. Daniel 9:24 in practically every English translation is screwed up. In every Hebrew manuscript that I've ever seen, without fail, it always says Shavim, Shavim, which means 70, 70, which means there's two 70s. The first 70 was Babylon captivity, 70 years. The second 70, for the holy city and his people, begins when Yeshua appears, the sign of the Son of Man in the clouds, seated on the right hand of power in the heavens. And that's not the coming down to earth in Revelation 19, when he's on the white horse, with a garment dipped in blood, a double-edged sword coming out of his mouth, and he comes with millions of angels from heaven, also on white horses, and the beast of the false prophet are thrown into the lake of fire at that time, and New Jerusalem comes down. That certainly is not what we're dealing with. Okay? So that would be the start of the 70, and the end of the 70 years is Revelation 19, when he comes with the armies of heaven all on white horses and stuff like that. That's the end of it. So when Yeshua appears in the clouds, we look upon him and we have everlasting life, and just before that, the unbelievers have the Spirit poured out on them, so they're believers. So that's them born again in a day. It's a born again experience, like church people have when they pray to the Lord and become born again. It's being restored to God. It's not 1948, May 15th, where the UN takes a vote. That's moronic teaching. Okay? God says, should I not bring, he puts the pregnancy on them, should they not bring to the birth, of course, the birth pangs, what birth pangs happened in 1948? I don't think anything happened. Okay? So, now, when could this happen? Well, I told you on or around, give or take 2 or 3 days, August 1st, that the Lord showed me we're in the year of recompense. He said, this is the year of recompenses. He did not tell me when it started. So we could have been a week into it, a day into it, 3 or 4 months into it. I don't know. So this day could happen very quickly. I have a feeling it's not going to take until August 1st or the very end of July, but it might. But it might. I don't know. I don't have an exact date. I think the latest it would be on or about August 1st. It could take 2 or 3 days, but it could be before. So we don't know. We walk by faith, not by sight. I don't have a date. If you want to pray that the Lord gives us an exact date, I mean, be my guest, but I don't think we're going to get that. Are you going to go to the lake of fire for praying that? Heck no, no chance of that. But it's just something he just doesn't want us to know. For one reason, we can leak it out to others. And it might mess up our walk. So he's not telling us that. But we're so close. What are we, May 19th, May 20th, or something like that? So you got like 11 days in May, 30 in June, let's say 41. 72 days maximum, I guess. Something like that, 72, 73, 74. And minimum could be 15, 20 days. Egypt's turning against Israel now over Rafah and the exposing of the 50 tunnels going into Egypt that Egypt was letting Hamas use to build their 200 or 300 miles of tunnels and bring all those weapons in. So Egypt is completely complicit. And now Iran looks like they want to get in the fracas. Yemen is threatening to come up here and help Gaza with 600,000 terrorist soldiers. And, you know, it's getting pretty interesting. Russia's doing missile tests 300 miles off the coast of California near Oakland. That's not exactly a normal occurrence. You know, things are getting heated. North Korea could just drop on South Korea in a minute. Now, I don't think China's going to hit Taiwan, because if they were, they would have done it. And I'm not so sure Russia's going to hit NATO for the same reason. They would have done it. They're making the countries think they're going to do it to create fear, and then they run exercises, and then they observe the exercises that the countries run, and they get to study how their defense and their military operates. So it's a real, you know, Russia and China and North Korea and even Iran may be saving themselves to just attack America after they unleash the sleeper agents to attack the military bases, and that might be it. So they're never going to hit NATO, and they're never going to hit Taiwan or South Korea. They just figured they'd come back later after they get rid of America and pick these places off without any issues. The Muslims in Australia have been uprising pretty avidly, and like a lot what's happening in America on the college campuses. And that's not a good thing for them. China sold billions of dollars of treasury bills the other day. That's a sign they're getting ready to attack America. China and Russia stopped doing any trade in US dollars in the last 72 hours or so, 96 hours. That's another sign that they're getting ready to attack America. Right? Okay. So things are moving. There's no shortage of news these days. I remember if you go back like 5 years, the news was very slight. I'm going to put you down the offer, okay? Thank you for visiting. All right. Let's take a look around here. If there was something wrong with the volume, there'd be like 10 people posting in the chat, turn the volume up. It would normally be on your end, because no one else is asking that. Let's see if we got any new developments, because things are going fast here with our friends in Iran. So I'm on my social media here, and let's see if we get anything. I think it's safe to say that the former president of Iran, we see, by now knows who the God of Israel is. Israel did not light any fireworks off last night, but on my Telegram site I have pictures of fireworks that the opposition people lit off in Iran. They're glad the sky's gone. This could cause a big civil war there. It's a possibility. It is a possibility. There were 9 dead in this helicopter crash. Okay, so it was the President Raisi, some guy named Mohammed El Sham, the Imam of the city of Tabriz, the Foreign Minister, Governor of East Azerbaijan province, that's in Azerbaijan province inside Iran, just to be clear. They neighbor Iran and Azerbaijan. General Syed Mehdi Mousavi, charge of the president's security, the pilot, the co-pilot, a helicopter crew member, that's probably like a stewardess or something. I don't know if they have stewardess or something like that. An officer from the Ansar al-Mahdi force. All right. So there were 9 dead. The Sunni rebels in Syria, funded by Erdogan, had a celebration last night regarding the helicopter crash. Got a picture or a video of it. It's actually a video on my Telegram now. There's a video I put up of an Iranian saying the whole world is celebrating the helicopter crash. This is getting interesting. Take it easy, Yafi girl. You know, you're not seeing a lot of national leaders coming out on the news stories offering their condolences to Iran over the loss of their president. Isn't that interesting? They were pretty celebratory outside the Iranian consulate in London. Yeah, London has a lot of people that had to run away from Iran, and by that '79 overthrow of the Shah. A former Iranian foreign minister named Mohammed Javad. They sure got names, don't they? The U.S. is responsible for the tragedy of the crash of the president's helicopter. It banned the sale of airplanes and their parts to Iran despite the order of the International Court of Justice. Yeah. So they're throwing the mud on Israel, which is what Netanyahu wanted, on America, which is what Netanyahu wanted. Israel is saying they had nothing to do with it. Well, that's consistent with wanting America and Iran to go to war, isn't it? With all the people celebrating this event in Iran, it's be kind of dangerous for them to step out and start attacking anybody. But, they're not the brightest lights in the harbor. They're pretty stupid. They'll probably try it. They're not real smart. Okay. Well, I will keep you posted, and let's see how this goes. We're not getting any warnings in Israel about a pending Iranian attack. We're not getting any releases about movement of anti-missile systems or armor or troops. Nothing. So I would think Iran's going to go into mourning for 3 days and not attack anybody. And in that 3-day period, they're probably going to think long about who they want to attack. If they attack America, the chances of retaliation are minimal. If they attack Israel, the chances of retaliation are 100%. It's just they won't know what form it manifests and what the time frame is. Okay, so we'll keep you updated. Make sure you subscribe. if you want to get the updates on this, because I'll be doing unexpected live streams during the day and night as the eggs start hitting the fan. So make sure you subscribe, you won't miss it, and click the notification bell. It'll take you 2 or 3 seconds to click the like button, the thumbs up, if you would, and it helps me with YouTube. And please pray for me and my wife for our peace, safety, protection, joy, and healing of our bodies. And pray for our offerings to increase. Pray for our animals and pets to be happy, healthy, and whole. And pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Pray for better videos. And I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. And I will be updating on this one. And right now I'm out. Thanks.